everyone. Welcome back to Kat and Sara. We go deep with Kat and Sara. This is pink matching top week for those of you watching on YouTube. And so today we thought we would look at the inside out understanding at work in relation to maybe productivity and other things having to do with work and getting things done. So where would you like to start with that, Kathleen?
Yes, well, I guess those of you up north in Canada say productivity, and I say productivity. But no matter how you say it, I think we should define it.
I'm curious, how
What
did I
is
sound?
that? What
What
is
is
it anyway?
getting stuff done?
Yeah,
Yeah. Is it anything else?
I'm thinking. Well, it's interesting. Like, I do think that different people have different ideas about what it is. I think what's very variable in is people's experience of their feelings around productivity. I mean, that's where what I think I have a lot of clients come to me, I want to get things and they're having a lot of struggle around that because well, and that's what I guess maybe before we go there, I'm not answering your question directly. Do I think productivity is anything other than getting things done? I mean, I'm not seeing. What do you see?
I hadn't really thought about it. I guess you can get things done and feel harried and low energy and where it's hard, but you're productive. So and then you can be really productive and feel like it's easy. I often think of the word productivity as it's easier. Things are flowing, you're getting stuff done, you're getting more done in an easy way. Um,
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like we have agreed that what we see productivity is getting things done.
mhm.
And then there's the experience that we have, the feelings that we have, the thinking that we have that's going on around getting things done or not getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
That the experience that you can be highly productive, meaning the outcome is that you've got a lot done or created something new or whatever it is that you're up to about getting done, things checked off your list, and that it can be from a place of ease and flow, or it can be wrought with uncomfortable feelings and a stressful body and a busy mind, which can slow down productivity. But I think you can also have a lot of that noise and still actually be doing and getting things done. What do you think?
Yeah. I suppose it comes down to what do you want? Because we can live life from the inside out and things are just way easier. So you tend to, if you're looking to do something or create something, it tends to get farther. And so you have higher productivity. You can make things hard for yourself and do it with a lot of worry. I find I just don't get as much done that way. And it's not as fun. I don't enjoy it. So, given the choice, which I think we have a choice, I'll pick the easy one.
I see it the same way. I think more often if I'm not, if I'm having thoughts that are creating a stressful feeling for myself while I'm working on getting something done, I think that it hinders the quality of what I get done and how much I can get done. But if that's even if that weren't true, and I have a choice, which I agree that I do have a choice, I would much rather have the experience of either neutral or maybe a little joy within sprinkled into this productivity around something that at one point I would call an undesirable, awful task that I don't want to do. I think there's a way to have an experience of being productive and being in a pleasant, contented, even joyful frame of mind. So, and if I am in that state while I'm working, it's, more gets done. It seems like it really does when you kind of get in that flow state. And so, how do we do that?
How do we do that? Two things come to mind. And I think they're both variations of knowing who you are. There's, for me anyway, feeling myself, the aliveness in myself. To me, it's like a body sensation, feeling myself as the energy of life. Then the creating something or being productive is an outflow of that. And it's so much easier. And if there's things I don't want to do or have no intention of doing, I can just strike them off my list. I don't beat myself up for not getting something done. Or and the other thing coming to mind is when I see how I'm creating my experience of reality each moment to moment, like a baker baking up a batch of cookies. They see themselves. You measure out the butter, you put it in, you measure out the flour, you put it in. It's not like you blank out and cookies come out of the oven and you don't know how that happened. It's kind of people use thought like they catch on when they're really upset or angry or having a hard day or low mood, and they baked up that low mood, but they don't see themselves doing the recipe. And it's like the peanut butter cookies come out of the oven. They're like, how'd that happen? I hate peanut butter cookies. Oh no, I can't stop baking them. And I don't know, for me, watching myself a couple times doing the recipe of creating a low mood or thoughts, it just all dissolved. It's like, oh, I could stop baking that particular recipe. I don't like it. And then the things I actually want to create in the world can happen. Yeah, it's so much simpler.
So, Sarah Joy, I heard three things.
Great.
Knowing who you are without going any deeper. Being okay with really giving your attention and your energy to the things that you want to get done. And that there's some things that, really and truthfully, maybe you don't really want to do. And considering that maybe those things you can check them off the list and not do them. Like that seems like that does seem a little bit like another topic to explore, but I still wanted to pull that out because I've had so much of experience of that. Like in the big scheme, of things. There's a lot of things that I thought really needed to get done and should get done, and then, but I didn't want to. And when I didn't do them, everything seemed to work out anyway.
Hmm.
And then, of course, your cookie baking example of, if we are engaged with something, that a project or something, that the experience that we have while we're doing the thing, the feelings that we have, the 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 ease or the stress around it, is all created by us. And so,
Yeah.
back to knowing who you are, that that absolute, beyond the personal self, beyond the ego, beyond this, identity and character we play, like, and beyond, even beyond, like, oh, I've got an issue with my computer. I really do want to sit down and see if I might be able to figure it out before I have to call the tech guy for $300 to come out. Right. But I'm not a techie person. Well, what if I'm not even a person? What if who I truly am, right, is, I want to say, has access to infinite creative intelligence. I mean, but it's not even access, like I am that. I'm part of that. I'm one with that. So we've all had the experience of getting something done that we thought, like, all of a sudden, just, if you're in a relaxed state of mind and you're like, I'm gonna try, like, something pops up that gives you a clue of what you need to do next, or you get a fresh creative thought that you never thought, and then you push the one button, and all of a sudden the whole problem is fixed. For me, it's usually turn the damn thing off and turn it back on. Oh, I forgot all about that. But that who we are, beyond the personal self, beyond our thinking, um, is when we're aligned with that true nature, our essence, then we're in that flow. And then productivity is easy and graceful, and things just get done. Like my hands are moving and I'm talking, and but something is there's a force that's doing the doing, that is so much bigger than the me. um and it's interesting, when I think about having conversations with people that approach us about working with them, and in corporate or teams, and the idea that being in alignment with your true nature is going to, like, massively increase productivity. Yeah. Yeah, like, only all the time.
Yeah.
um
Well, this is coming to mind. I was approached to be part of a national committee for weightlifting for sport that I do, and as an official. And it's kind of it's taking the worldwide rules and sort of applying them to Canada, and how does each province want to handle certain rule changes and things like that. And I was told, oh, you might not want to do this because there's a lot of infighting or bad blood. It's political. My first thought was, well, why would I care? Like, other people, so often different workplaces are on teams, or people who are trying to get something done for a common goal. They're working together to create something in the world. Unfortunately, yeah, there can be differences of opinion or fighting or um, various iterations of that, I guess. But it looked funny to me that I would care what other people had as their, like if Joe doesn't like Susie, and maybe Joe and Susie and I need to get something done. So Joe and Susie they're adults, they can have their opinions of each other, and we can still easily get our thing done. It's only if I thought it was a problem that it would then become a problem. Like, it might take us longer to get something done if Joe and Susie won't stop fighting. But if that's not a problem for me, and if I genuinely just don't really care or have no thought about it, okay. Yeah. And it genuinely looked funny to me that this lady was sort of saying, "Oh, you may not want to do this. You might be, you might curse me later for putting your name forward." And and I thought, well, that looks silly. Why would I care? She kind of looked at me. Okay. And I also think sometimes the person who doesn't care about that sort of thing in that environment, it grows.
Yes.
If you got one person who doesn't buy into the politics or the infighting, or kind of goes, well, that looks silly, that attitude does grow, and I've seen it totally change entire cultures. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we all know that it's true, whether it's like with your spouse, with the entire family, with your kids, with in one-on-one situations, like you show up with an attitude toward something that both of you or the other person defined as a problem, and you just show up as it's like, I don't care. I don't see that as a problem. That's not what we're up to here. That like I'm me, let's connect
Yeah.
and get productive together. That is contagious. Like in a good way. Like um because anyway, lots
Yeah.
of reasons for that. It happens. I think everybody can relate to that sort of thing. And if you get yourself buying into that drama as being true, as being real, it's not real. They
Yeah.
just have thinking. They're
Yeah.
just human beings with little brains that think thoughts and they believe them. And by saying that you don't care, you're just like, not only do you don't care, is you know that it's not true. There's no reality to whatever stuff is going on between the person Susie and the person Joe.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter. I see that as where productivity can be limited sometimes. Something you mentioned something that how we see ourselves, we think of ourselves, oh, like I'm not good at technical things, or but we have access, we are the creative wisdom of the universe. We are the creative potential. Um, Even down to introvert, extrovert is thought. Even and it I find it fun to kind of look at different things of, maybe things I think about myself that they're not literally true. It's just I have thought my personality into being, or I think I'm introverted. Oh, except all those times when I'm not really. And yeah, it's and some of them can keep us from being more productive. If you think, oh, I'm not good at this, or I'm not good at that, or
Right.
oh, I don't work well with people who think blah, 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 or whatever. Yeah, just seeing that we're creating that.
That's
Just
right.
create
That's
anything
right.
else.
Yep. So we use this creative power of thought to define ourselves.
Mm.
in a fixed uh character with beliefs about who we are and who we're not, like you were saying about the introverted extroverted, and it it, it limits us. Because, well, introverts aren't good at this, and that's all made up. Now, maybe you behaved in a certain way repeatedly over and over and over, and you and our culture and psychologists would label that as introversion. But first of all, it's we're fresh and new in any given moment. Like, just because we behaved a certain way, you know, um, now I think there is such a thing as refining skills. So with the computer example, my chances of solving the problem on my own all come from what we discussed. Like me just like putting away the stories I've been telling myself that I don't like it, I can't, I'm not good at tech. That's not helpful if I have any chance of solving it on my own. If I can just calm down and realize I do have access to some wisdom much greater than possibly I have been using in the past to try to solve a computer issue. And then at some point, if it's just, I'm just not hitting the right buttons and I powered it off and powered it back on, um, my wisdom, my innate knowing will probably say the most productive thing is to write a check for $300 and see how fast I can get the computer guy over here. Because he's refined a skill set that I haven't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've been talking around a little bit. It's getting yourself in alignment with your knowing. And you called it wisdom or knowing things you just know. And if you settle down and you're quiet, that creative potential, that wisdom comes to you and you kind of, oh, I know. You take a break from a problem and, you know, comes to you in the shower or yeah.
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 So maybe this is for another call, but I think, and I think I would like to explore this separately unless you have anything to say about it. But the idea that getting things done, most people have a pretty long list, whether it's not everybody. I am surprised. I mean, I do meet people that don't have a list. They just
Mm,
wake up. It's rare, but I have a cousin and I have one client right now who they're just like, I don't have a to-do list. Nope. Haven't either never had one or haven't had one for a long time. But what's common is people have a really long list and there's a lot of things on there that they think they should do and they're not doing. And all those things look really important. And I think that creates this uh like log jam in our little brain when there's just, I think that can affect our ability to get in that flow state and to get in alignment because we've got, and um you know I just did it not too long ago because I do have a to-do list on a extra large post-it note, which I call my maxi pads, hanging up on the wall. And I just crossed some things off just yesterday, and oh my gosh, it now the things that are on there that I really feel at this point are important, they just in some way look not like they're going to be actually easier to do, but that more likely that they're going to get done sooner than I thought, just because I've cleared away all the stuff that I just realized probably was something more I thought I should do, not that important. And so now you know, I feel so much more likely that I'm going to just get aligned and get into flow and contact my inner knower that we all have built in, a knowing of what to do and yeah, and what to pay attention to, what to focus on.
I wasn't sure what the summary of that was. Was that about don't have lists, listen to your inner knowing?
Oh, how would I summarize that? Well, I was bringing up the idea that, you know, maybe we don't need a whole podcast on it, that but people could take a look at all the things that they think they need to do and really reassess whether or not there's some things that could come off that list. And what do you think, Sarah Joy? I think by doing that, it just sort of will lead to being a little bit more relaxed and being more likely to, get in the flow of creativity and listen to our knowing a little bit more when that logjam of all that stuff for most people, is, if you can minimize that's how I'd summarize that.
Mm. Yeah,
What do you think?
I think the more in touch with your aliveness that a person gets, not Kathleen's aliveness, but I said your your own aliveness, you start to automatically see, oh, these things that I've been trying to do, they're only because I thought I should do them. So it starts to become really obvious and you can drop them off the list. Sometimes it's worthwhile having a look at things that that if you're a person that does have a big to-do list, or if you're carrying around in your head, especially, um, sometimes having a fresh look at it, are these things I actually want to do, can be really useful. But I do know the experience of, you start listening to your own knowing, and all of a sudden there's all kinds of things where oh, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I always thought taxes were kind of an exception to maybe what we're talking about, because, well, yes, taxes need to be done. And I never wanted to do my taxes. Like, I don't want to do them, but I have to do them. I want to drop them off my list and I can't, was how I would have thought about it previously. Somewhere along the line, I realized that no, I actually do want to do my taxes, because I don't want I don't want the consequences. Like, if I don't do my taxes, there would be negative consequences eventually. And I don't want that. So I actually do want to do my taxes. And now I actually find the process fun. I mean, I have an accountant who does them for me. Would be what was one step of my knowing. Okay, don't try to do them yourself. Um, but now it looks like fun to get all that information together and just get it done.
Yeah, I think you provided some clarity about the important, you brought up an important reminder with the, as you look at your mental list or your written to-do list, is that if you're quiet and and there's space for your inner knowing, to show up, you just know,
Mm.
what. So I love that you brought that out, you highlighted that. And I also love what you said about the taxes. There are things that we've been walking around telling ourselves a story like, I don't like that, I don't want to do that. And yet, on some level, we do want to do it. because we don't want the consequences of not doing it.
Yeah, and I would have said, oh, well, I have to do my taxes or hire someone to actually do it for me. Um, but you don't actually have to. I know people who just didn't for years and years and
Yeah.
years and years.
Nobody has to do their taxes.
Have to. There are consequences that will show up eventually.
Most likely.
You could go to jail for tax evasion and never pay your taxes and live your life in jail is a possibility.
Mhm.
And sure, no reason you can't do that. So when I realized it was funny, I was like, oh, but I don't want to do that or pay how many, how much arrears or whatever, It's like, oh no, I actually do want to do them.
How did you get to the point of, because I heard you say something like, well, gathering the information for my taxes, like that kind of sounds like fun. Like,
Mm,
how do you think that shifted? Because that's not, doesn't sound like
it wasn't always fun.
it wasn't. Yeah. What's
I used to be terrified. I made up all kinds of stories about that I would have to pay a lot more money than I'd expected, or so I'd made up how the future around taxes was going to be. And so I just never wanted to look at it. So then there was a period of time where it was like, okay, just let's rip the Band-Aid off, get the painful thing done as fast as possible. Okay, get all the information to the accountant as fast as possible. And then there was the like still making up that I was going to owe the government all this money I didn't have. And I think just in the process of doing it earlier and earlier every year, I realized, and also understanding how thought works, I realized I was making it all up, that I really didn't know. And I guess having been in business for more and more years, you gotta figure out, okay, Sarah, well, if you if you made a certain amount, like I wouldn't even look at income versus expenses because I was too scared to look at it. So I would make up that, oh no, my expenses, I made too much. I just made up that it was going to be bad when it never was. I did have a friend who didn't pay attention and owed the government a ton of money because he made a lot, but he spent a lot, but I don't really know. He just didn't pay attention and owed money. And he he figured it out and paid it out. Like he didn't die. He's still in business. I have another friend who went bankrupt, and again, same thing. He step by step figured it out and is still in business and has a nice life. And so all the worst case scenarios I was telling myself, there, it's just I made it up in my thinking.
That's it. It's all made of thought.
And I don't really know. I think I just decided it could be fun. Like, how did I get to fun? I don't know, but it genuinely is kind of fun.
Well, I think when I th yeah, apologize. I'm gonna have to wrap this up in a hurry because
Okay.
I have a client at the
Well, it's
door.
about that time anyway. Oh, awesome. We can be productive the less we think things that are made up and feel our aliveness.
The more aligned we are with,
Be
yeah.
aware of what you're making up.
So sorry for the
Okay,
abrupt
everyone.
ending, but we'll
Bye.
see everybody next time.
Yep. Bye. Thank you.